everyone. Welcome to the Organizing to Victory podcast, where we're talking garage politics. Today, I'm inviting my dear friend, Felipe Sousa Lazaballet, to come and speak on his work at the Hope Community Center, helping to bring vital resources and a sense of community to our migrant population here in Central Florida, and his new journey in developing a campaign to run after Representative Anavi Escamani terms out of House District 42. This is an extremely important time for us to get involved and really energize ourselves around volunteer work for the champions who are running to preserve our rights and the rights of migrants who are coming here to get citizenship or seeking asylum. And, Felipe is such a multifaceted champion for so many different issues that are directly facing our ability to put food on the table and our ability to have a safe space for our migrant population. So I'm super excited to get into the conversation. Please be sure to check your vote by mail status and that you are registered to vote so that we can support champions like Felipe and other champions in our local community to get over the finish line. Let's get into my chat with Felipe. You guys, I am so excited for this interview today because a very good friend and someone who just so happens to be my neighbor.
That's right.
Felipe is here. And I'm just going to start right off the bat with wanting to chip away at your story because you have one of the most fascinating stories out of anyone I've ever met. And so please tell me about where you were born and how you started growing up in this world.
Yeah, I was born in Rio. Which is pretty far away from here. But I, just a low-income kid. My mother was a housekeeper, and all her life she worked cleaning houses. And I love my mom. She talks about the pride of work all the time. Once I remember she said, nothing better than going to a house and everything is dirty and messy. And then when I leave, everything is beautiful. Mm-hmm. She had just so much pride in the work that she did. And she didn't really have a lot of opportunities. So she only had a second grade education. As a matter of fact, when I was learning to read and write, she was learning to read and write with me. And we used to do homework together. And I am the youngest out of three. So I have two older sisters. One is 14 years older than me, and she lives in Portugal. And I have another sister who lives here, and she's 10 years older than me. So growing up, I didn't have a lot of money, but always had a lot of love. My family loved me, but we lived in pretty bad conditions. My sisters had to work since they were 14 years old. My mom would work from 5 a.m. to midnight every day. She had 3 jobs. And quite honestly, I don't remember a time in my childhood that we could have a guaranteed meal. And, that was basically the life I had growing up. But when I was 8 years old, my sister Claudia, the one in the middle, made the decision to break the cycle of poverty. She said, I'm breaking the cycle of poverty. She was only 18 years old. She came to the United States with just enough money to actually pay for her ticket. So when she got here, she only had $50 left to build her life in the United States. But before she left, she told me that before I would turn 15, she would come and she would bring me over. She would bring me to the United States. And she said, when I bring you there, you're going to learn English and you're going to have opportunities. Your life is going to be like Disney World. And you have to understand that for a family like ours, when someone says, I'm moving to the United States, it's the same as saying, I'm moving to Mars. I'm going to a different planet. So she left and it was really sad, to have her gone. And we've always been really close. But I continued to live in this, situation that wasn't great. My mom lost the apartment that we were in, and then we had to move very far away from the actual city into the outskirts. And that was a for real slum with open sewer, no electricity. I had to walk to get water from a well because we didn't have water in the house. The house didn't have windows. We'll put plastic on the windows so the water, because it would rain a lot, right? So the water wouldn't come in. But that was when I became an activist because I was not okay with that.
Yeah.
And, as a young kid, I remember looking around and thinking to myself, I don't think everybody lives like this. And why does it have to be this way for us? And I just started to develop my critical thinking about the world, about what was right, what was wrong. And a lot of it actually came from Christianity because I grew up Catholic. My mom will go to church, take me to church. We'll be in church like 3 times a week. But the church I was going to back in Brazil was part of a pretty big movement, theological movement in Latin America called the Liberation Theology, which is the idea that God sees every person as the most perfect, beautiful version of what it needs to be. And that we deserve dignity, all of us. And it is part of our duty as people who believe in Jesus Christ to fight for justice for others, right? And then I was ingrained with that thinking. And right about when I was about 12 years old, I heard that the mayor of my town was coming to my school. And I thought, this is my opportunity to actually write a letter. So I wrote a very detailed letter of what I wanted in my neighborhood, that I wanted pavement, I wanted water treatment, I wanted electricity, I wanted infrastructure, really, and playgrounds and schools and sidewalks. So I wrote all of this in this letter and gave it to him. And then soon after, the opportunity to come live in the United States came up, and then I moved. So when I got here, I quickly began to live the life of an American kid, right? My mom couldn't come because she herself couldn't get a visa. And I came on a tourist visa to live with my sister. So when I got here, I remember going to school first in 8th grade. And I didn't know one word of English, not even how to say hi. I've always been that kid that wants to learn. So I wanted to learn. I was in school, and I understood that if I learned English, then I could learn what was on the books. So I translated an entire textbook, word by word. That's how I learned English. That and Barney, because I was taking care of my little niece, because my sister had to work 10, 12 hours a day and to raise me and her daughter, who was 2 years old when I got here. And, I took care of my niece, right? So I would watch little kids' cartoons, which are very helpful if you're learning English. And I will go to school. So I translated this entire textbook. I got the best grade in the entire school. And that was sort of like the beginning of my life here, definitely with struggles, but also just the finally feeling the stability of knowing that I have food, and opening up the fridge and seeing food in there, and not being worried about, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next, right? That is a radical shift in a way of a person's life. So I know what it's like to not have food, what's to struggle, what's to live in, what's to be feel like you're forgotten, like you don't deserve a chance. And then have a shift of when that is no longer there. But then right about when I was in 11th grade, I went to my guidance counselor, and I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be a teacher. So because my mom didn't really have a chance to go to school, I really wanted to be part of helping other kids have an opportunity, right? The opportunity my mom didn't have. And so I had good grades. I thought I could do it. But my counselor told me that because I didn't have a social security number, because I was undocumented, I couldn't. And told me that I really was only going to become a warehouse worker, which was crushing. It really crushed my spirit. And I was so depressed in my entire school life, from kindergarten all the way through college. I've only gotten a C one time, and it was during that time.
Yeah. So I can only imagine the fear, like, you know, like we did all this work to get all this way, and it just feels like the floor is bottoming out under you, because you're like, wait, how am I supposed to break the cycle of poverty if I'm just destined to become a warehouse worker and not really be able to fully accomplish my dreams?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know? Absolutely. It was also, it was really hard for me too, because I was becoming more and more aware. Not that I wasn't aware before, that I didn't know, but it became more clear that I was also queer. And having to figure out, oh my goodness, how am I going to deal with these two things at the same time? It was really difficult. But definitely the fear, not knowing, thinking of your future and not seeing anything that you thought it was going to be possible, you know, it just makes you want to give up. And I remember that I went to my sister, right? You know, so sad. And she said, look, I brought you here for you to do what you need to do. And if you have 2 more years of school that you can go in the United States, and even if that's the last 2 you can, give your all. You just don't know. Right. So I did. I did, as she said, and continued to excel in school. But when I graduated from high school, I didn't have an organization or anyone who guided me, and I didn't go to college. So it took me about another year and a half because of a church that I used to go to. And a friend of mine said, oh, you know, I heard, which is exactly how word of mouth information is so important. And we should never, you know, we should always share information, because you don't know how that is going to change someone's life. And this is exactly how it happened.
100%.
So this friend of mine at church told me that somebody told him that Miami-Dade College was allowed undocumented youth to go. And if I went to the honors college and I had good grades, I could get a scholarship. And that's exactly what I did. I applied, which I had to write the essays, whatever, all of the things. And I got in. So when I got in, the promise of the honors college was we'll pay for you for your classes, your books, and give you a small stipend. But because I had to pay out-of-state fees at the time, which is 4 times as much, so my scholarship only covered for about a third, and I had to figure out how to pay the other 2/3, right? Which was still very helpful. You know, something is better than nothing. And I used to work at a restaurant at night as a busboy to pay for college, right? To pay for my classes and for everything. I got involved with student government, then became the student government president. And that, again, right, that moment of do everything you can, work really hard, try to make a difference, right? Always was ingrained in me by my family. And that's exactly what I did. But that's how I stumbled upon activism. It was in college, in that moment where I was, okay, here I am, you know, super involved, but I actually want to change the law. That laws are not perfect and oftentimes are unjust. And an unjust law must be changed. So that was it. You know, that's kind of like the moment, right?
But were you out at this time, or were you still grappling?
I was still grappling.
And just kind of like putting it off to the side because you're like, I have a vision towards fighting for justice, and you're not really internally, you're just trying to like get by emotionally in this moment. You're not really kind of addressing those other feelings.
1,000%. I at that time in my life, I was very scared. I wasn't out about being undocumented. I wasn't out about being part of the LGBTQ plus community. I was really deeply in the closet. But social justice movements did change my life and saved my life, for that matter. Because one day I was watching TV, and it's one of those things of it feels like chance for me. It feels like when God is telling you go this way. I was sort of like in a place, and the news came out on a TV, and they were talking about a dreamer who had been detained, and his high school friends did a walkout, and that got him out of detention. And I remember his name is Juan Gomez. And I remember looking at the news and thinking to myself, that's me. And then at the end of it, the youth organizer at the Florida Immigrant Coalition said, hey, if you want to get involved, call this number. And I did. I called the number. And I began first, I was part of the founding of an organization called Students Working for Equal Rights that started at Miami-Dade College, but then became a statewide organization, really a network of immigrant youth from across the entire state, fighting for the DREAM Act, for in-state tuition, for immigration reform, better worker conditions, right? We worked on several social justice issues. But in that kind of an environment, I found my voice and also learned that there is nothing wrong with me. That, in the wise words of Lady Gaga, God made me this way.
Gaga. Well, I think that's so beautiful. And, I'm just so blown away, like going between holding back tears and just wanting to smile, because like getting to watch you work in this space is like impressive. That it almost feels like you probably didn't even flinch. You just always had the answers. You always knew what to do, because you exude this confidence of like, I'm here, I'm doing this, we're going to go, let's do it. And you have this smile and you greet people. And it's just like hearing your story and the intensity, right? Because I've battled with mental health challenges and finding my way and finding myself, my voice and my activism. And I haven't seen a fraction of what you've seen. It blows me away how strong you are today.
Oh my goodness.
Blows me away. Wow.
I think that, it's important to mention that obviously I had my lows, right? When I came out, my mom in Brazil was not accepting at all. And that was crushing to me, because I grew up in a very traditional way that, you're supposed to make your parents proud. And here I was with something that I couldn't change.
Right.
And that was that my mother couldn't accept about who I was. And that drove me to try to commit suicide. And I was in the hospital for 2 nights. It was really horrible. But even in that, right, I think that love wins here, because I just kept showing up time and time again to my mom, obviously holding my ground in the sense of not allowing to be bullied or to be told that there was something wrong with me. But at the same time, still wanting to be in relationship. And after a long time, my mom did come around, and today she's incredible. Actually, a couple of years ago, when I was at her kitchen table, she asked for forgiveness. And even said, I'm sorry, I was ignorant. And, to me, that is, again, we are not it's not where we start.
Right.
And then oftentimes people get judged based on what their journey, in the start of their journey. It's about how much we wanted to get there. And the path we're trying to do. But that path will never be perfect, right? This is a difficult world. So,
I mean, there's so many kids right now that just don't see that moment of their parents coming around ever happening, who are in that same place where they'd rather inflict self-harm than live with the reality of who they are. And it's so hard right now when your own government that you fund with your tax dollars is also trying to attack gay marriage and attack anything DEI that seems quote unquote woke, and it becomes, your identity becomes a culture war for political gain.
That's right. Instead
of, you know, really living by the Constitution and really living by the Bible and being accepting and loving for all of humanity. I find it so awesome that you get to be a role model for those kids. But you have so many things to be a role model for.
Oh my God.
I mean, you're going full steam ahead during what I feel right now is a war. We're at war. We're at war for our LGBTQ plus community. We're at war for our migrant community. And we just have a civil war where we're like looking internally at our history and our society, and for some reason pointing at each other instead of pointing at the billionaires that are finding that fascism is good for business. So you go into activism and you find yourself. How quickly was that jump into politics from there?
I've never thought I was going to run for office, but I guess I ran once for SJ president and won.
Ooh, okay. What was the percent of the vote?
Well, at that time I was unopposed. Well, you know, I think what you just said is so true, right? When you are part of a community that gets targeted, your life becomes political, and it's not because you wanted to be.
Right.
I don't want my relationship to be political. It's not something I would. Who want that, right? Like, when you know you're the person you love, the life you're trying to build with the person you love, it's such a personal thing,
right?
And it should only belong to you and to the other person, and that's it, right? And it shouldn't even be a part of any kind of discourse or debate. So when people are debating my love for my husband, they made it political. I've never did.
Yeah.
Because what I have in my heart for my husband is the purest of all things any human can have, which is love. So it's similarly, when I think about the attacks on immigrants and honestly on Latinos as a whole, right? It shows me that the question here is not about the law. It's about who I am. Right. And when that is the case, then again, who you are, what you cannot help to be, becomes political. But it's not because you made it political. Someone else did. So when we rise and we say, no, don't treat me this way. No, you don't get to tell me who I get to love. Who am I going to build a life with? No, I am the owner of my own destiny. Then they say, we're to this, we're to that.
Well, what they say is your existence in our schools is exposing my child to something that I, as a parent, should have the right to restrict my child from seeing.
Yes.
So let's say you are married to your husband, you become a teacher, and you have a picture of you and your husband's wedding photo on your desk. They're saying, and when I say they, those who are trying to make your marriage a political culture war, that they don't have parental rights to hide that from their children, and that you're exposing them to something that they don't believe in. How do you address that conversation?
Well, first of all, I think that any parent has the right to have conversations with their children and raise their children however they feel it's the right way. I do believe in that. But at the same time, my existence is part of the human experience. And being part of the LGBTQ plus community, honestly, is the same as being born with blue eyes or brown eyes. it's nothing other than that.
Right.
And the idea that people convert into becoming LGBTQ plus is just a lie. And think about it like this. Most of us were raised by straight parents, and at least my parents were straight. And they raised me in a straight household with very rigid gender roles based on the Catholic Church. And yet I am who I am. So that you can't convert someone into being something that they are not.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when you are exposed to diversity, it opens up your mind. It makes you a more well-rounded human being. So
that's a threat.
Yeah, well,
that's a threat.
The idea of exclusion is indeed something that is used to weaponize people's lived experience, whether you are of any kind. I mean, pick a group, right? And then we could have a whole conversation about that, right? But in kind of generally speaking, right? The idea of demonizing a group in order to push for a different political agenda that takes away opportunities, right, from everyone is something that's been in existence forever. But we have the opportunity to stop it. And the way to stop it, in my opinion, is by doing what you can, wherever you are, with everything you got.
Yeah.
And what I always tell my friends is that when the history books are written of today and what's happening right now, all I want people to know is I did everything I could.
Right.
I left no stones unturned. I fought and I gave my all. And that's all I can do. And that's all we can do. But I do believe that when that happens collectively, we have a chance.
I mean, there's so much about America that is in your story that I find so frustrating, because people want to rewrite history and making us believe that the white colonizers that came here had some type of divine destiny to own this land and control it. And I'm Native American from the Wampanoag tribe in Massachusetts. And I've met other tribes across the country. And, you know, when you talk to someone who is white, who might be even MAGA, which I do have a lot of Republican friends, and I tell them I'm Native American, and then they're like, oh, you know, they backtrack on some of their bigoted things. But what's so interesting is that they don't see migrants as Native Americans.
That's right.
It's so odd that their minds have been brainwashed to the point where they really believe that Mexicans have less of a right than the evangelical white people that came here. It's almost like their brains just cannot compute that they're Native Americans, that the people that live in Central, South, and North America are Americans.
Yeah.
Like, why can't they grasp that?
Well, I do think that, like you said, I agree with you. My story, our story, right? It's one of the most American of all stories.
Right.
It's the story of an immigrant kid who came from nothing, who worked hard, who gave his all. And that is a story that has been repeated in this country millions of times through many generations, and continues to exist today. And at the same time, our roots as a continent, right, comes from people who lived here before the European colonists arrived, and the indigenous peoples, right, the First Nations of this continent, were spread throughout the whole continent.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who come from Central America, South America, but definitely Central America and from Mexico, come from indigenous backgrounds. That's just facts. When you go to Mexico City and you just walk around and you see the Aztec ruins everywhere, you are reminded that that is an ancient city. that has been there for thousands of years. So today, when we see the pattern of immigration, which changes over time, right? And you see that right now, it is indeed true that most of the people who are here in the United States are from Latin America. And that's not a bad thing. We are bringing not only our hard work, we're bringing our culture, we're bringing our brains, we're bringing our hands. We build things. We are entrepreneurial people. As a matter of fact, 50% of the largest companies in the United States were founded by immigrants.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, the largest, the Fortune 500s, are 50% of them were started by immigrants. So immigrants bring vitality to the places that they arrive because you want to be here. If you came here and you left everything behind, which it is so incredibly difficult. I mean, think about it for a second. I left my mother when I was 14 years old. What I felt, what my mother felt, what my sister felt, right? For all of that to have happened, it came from the fact that life here was so much better for me. And I wanted to be here. And I think that's the forgotten part of this story that we need to just bring it back, right? And retell it time and time again.
There's a scarcity mindset of we have limited money, limited resources, limited space. The housing crisis is the migrants' fault. Every affordability crisis is a migrant's fault. But then when you actually look at how our money is distributed, the same people that are complaining are not complaining that we're utilizing hundreds of millions of dollars for ICE or for, alligator Alcatraz, of money that should be going back to the people. I just don't know if people even really comprehend millions versus billions and trillions and what that actually means, and takes the time to read the budget and understand that process. But there's this scarcity mindset that's underlying, but also a lot of those talking points are just an excuse to say, I like going to Publix and not having to hear someone speak Spanish because it makes me uncomfortable that I don't know what they're saying and if they're talking about me. I think that's really it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's important to talk about a little bit about what you just said, right? Which I think it's a waste of money. Let me just call it what it is, right? When we spend $300 million without any kind of a process, giving these contracts to billionaires that are giving millions of dollars to the Republican Party to create an internment camp for immigrants. That is not only a human rights crisis and also a constitutional crisis for the country, it is also a budgetary crisis.
Yes.
Because these $300 million were supposed to be in our coffins to protect us against hurricanes. It's coming from the emergency fund. So what is it going to happen when we get hit by a huge hurricane? Because FEMA is weakened, and now we don't have our resources that were set aside specifically for that are being depleted over a political agenda. Again, to demonize a group of people, but at the end of the day, hurting everybody else, right? In the process. I mean, the situation just recently that finally we know there is going to hopefully be a grand jury against the governor and his wife over the $10 million that they stole from us.
Right.
That money was for Medicare. Oh my goodness, like for people who are sick and poor. And then they took
What does he think he is, Rick Scott?
I mean, when we're talking about how money is actually government money is being used against us and to enrich their big donors, that should give us pause. And also, we should start thinking about how do we want our resources to actually be used?
Right.
Do we want them to be used to build cages, or do we want them for homes, for schools, for things we actually need?
Right. And, I don't know if people that are on that side that want to argue are motivated by what can the government do for us. It's more motivation of how can you make pain for others that I feel are less deserving because I'm struggling. You know, like if I feel pain to get food on the table or to pay my health care, they're much more inclined to want to demonize a certain demographic for their lack of, instead of saying, hey, government, I need to hold you accountable to providing these services to fill the gap or to ensure that the companies that are continuously raising our rates are held accountable. There's something there, and I don't know if it's we just use capitalism and intertwine it with patriotism, that no one wants to look at the companies and point to them as the reason why we're all feeling a mutual point of suffering, or if it's just really good propaganda that's been ensued on us to keep us divided and keep us focusing on culture wars instead of truly striving for true accountability and transparency.
Well, I think that definitely there is a really powerful right-wing media strategy that is working.
Yeah.
And it's really well resourced, right? Because it is paid by the billionaires, because it's helping them, really, at the end of the day. So I have watched how Spanish media, for example, has turned more conservative in the last 5 years even. And even the number of right-wing radio stations in Spanish in South Florida and how powerful they have become over time. And at the same time, because of not having the same level of resources, progressive media outlets haven't necessarily emerged as strongly. So I love your podcast. It's really important for us to have our own spaces. So that is basically shaping the way people see the world. And I'll give you a quick example of how powerful this is. I used to live in East Orlando. And when I lived in East Orlando is very, very Puerto Rican, right? I lived on zip code 32822, which is, I think, the zip code with the largest number of Hispanics in the whole county. And very, very blue, okay? I mean, like the pattern of voting it is. So somebody knocks at my door. I see them. It's a woman. I open up the door. You know, we're having this conversation in Spanish. And it's a very pleasant conversation about a cultural thing, coquito, right? Like the Puerto Rican drink that gets exchanged during Christmas. This is in January, a year before. It was January 2024 when this happened. So, you know, she's just having small talk, talking to me about Christmas, coquito, whatever. And then she turned the conversation into, hey, how you feeling about the situation of the price of goods in the supermarket? I'm like, oh my goodness, yes. I am changing the way I buy things. I can't buy the brands I used to buy, right? It's basically what everyone is feeling. And she was basically pulling it out for me. This whole entire time, I thought this woman was just a new neighbor who knocked at my door and who wanted to get to know me. And then she flipped the conversation into, hey, you know, the problem is that we pay too many taxes. And I thought, whoa, okay, I see what's going on here, right? And then I go inside the house. Then when I get out, my entire neighborhood had these kind of like those hangers things that they put it on the doors, right? Like a door, what do I call it?
Door hanger?
Yes, thank you. A door hanger with like 5 things that we love about Florida. All in Spanish, okay? We love the weather. We love this. We love that. And the last one was we don't pay property taxes. We don't pay income taxes, excuse me. And a QR code for people to get free sunblock. So, because that's how they build their list, right? And that is called the Libre Project, which translates to the Freedom Project, which is a right-wing organization that goes into Latino communities to convert Latinos into conservatives. But think about like how incredible that conversation was. Oh my God, she was so good. She got me on the door for at least 3 minutes before I saw what was going on. But most people will not necessarily see it, right?
Right.
So there is a very robust effort that we need to match it, right? Now, we're not going to match it with the money. And I don't mean, and I say it not because I'm being I'm being a realist, right?
Yeah. We don't take as much corporate money as the Republicans get just slushed into their fund. You know?
Correct. Yeah. But we can outdo them on the people power.
Yes, we can.
That we can. And there is nothing more powerful than a group of committed people. So I believe we can out-organize them, but it will require time, effort, sacrifice. And yes, we're going to have to donate some of our money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be hard. But I believe it's possible. So that's why I do what I do. I believe in social change.
So how did you get from Miami organizing with Flick to Hope Community Center to where you are today?
Yeah. Okay. So I did this really long walk. So in 2009, so President Obama, right? He was elected in 2008. And myself, oh, excuse me. Quick second. So when myself and a bunch of us, you know, we registered people to vote. We got people out to vote, right? We really believed in Obama. So he became president, and then deportations increased, and it didn't look like there was any path for immigration reform, which was one of his campaign promises. So, but everything became really real for us in Miami because we saw a lot of Haitians getting deported, which even back then, I'm talking 2009, Haiti was already destroyed. Yeah. So the idea of deporting people to their death, essentially, right, was, wait, that's not what we thought President Obama was going to do, right? And we started a campaign called End Education, Not Deportation. And we started protesting outside of the detention centers. So down in South Florida, there's this place called Broward Transitional Center, which is a detention center, which, by the way, is operated by a private company that makes lots of money per inmate per night. So we had like about 500 of us outside wearing our caps and gowns. We had this classroom that we put it outside, and we were trying to get a dreamer out of detention who was a young Bangladeshi girl. She was 19 at the time, and she was detained there, right? So we got up on the desks to chant, "You're not alone," so she could hear us. And we noticed that the detention center was getting expanded. And when that site, the construction of it made us feel, oh my goodness, they're building more beds for us to be there. And that was really sad and really hard. But it became clear that we had to do something different and something that required real sacrifice. So one of us went to a conference and came back with the idea of recreating the Underground Railroad, right? Where a group of people would essentially take a group of the folks going up north and from the south to north, etc., right? So we decided to do the Trail of Dreams, which we did it from January 1st, 2010 until May 1st, which is International Workers' Day, right? May Day. And also a very important day for the immigrant rights movement. When people say, hey, you know, I'm a worker, don't treat me like this. And so that was the past, and we walked, and, you know, we had the KKK protest us, and I kid you not, hoods and everything, holding signs that said, "Stop the Latino invasion," which were not very different than the sites of the last Republican convention, right, when people were holding mass deportation signs, right? And saying, "Stop the Latino invasion," and using these words, which are the words from the KKK that I heard directly from their mouth in 2010. So all of that made me be part of this national movement, right? And I was part of United We Dream. And then at one point, I left Florida for a few years. And I was in New York City, and I got this big corporate job when I finally got my green card. And I was working in the Social Change Initiatives office at this company called ThoughtWorks. And it was a cool job. because I would go all over the world, but focused in Latin America, supporting social justice organizations in Latin America, with money, with advice, with technology. It was a variety of things that we did, and then Post happened. And when Post happened, my world shattered. Because I am Latino, I am LGBTQ+, and it was at Latin night at the gay club that I learned that it was okay to be me, to be my full authentic self, where I could dance salsa and, I don't know, like talk to a boy and have a drink and not be afraid of violence, of the stares, right? It was a safe space. And I went wherever I was, I will always find community at Latin night at a gay club. So when Post happened, and that was what happened here, I remember thinking, my goodness, even in the most sacred places, this kind of violence can come in and shatter our understanding of safety forever. So I thought, here I am trying to save the world and my own home is on fire.
Yeah.
I need to go home. So I started coming back, myself and a couple of other friends, and we did a community assessment. We raised $2 million and we started the Contigo Fund, which still exists. And Contigo is an incredible organization. And but that's how Contigo started. And in that process, the mayor's office, Mayor Buddy Dyer's office, learned about me. And they were looking for someone to be the liaison between the city, the state, and the federal government, because there was a grant that the city got that was going to come down in that way, right? So I had to work with yours truly, Pam Bondi, and President Trump, because I was working with their administrations, right, to get the money to the city, but in the most flexible possible way, so it could actually be helpful to the community. So I was negotiating with the state, right? And then at the same time, bringing the resources to Heart of Florida United Way, and making sure that the people impacted had therapy, access to immigration attorneys. I mean, you name it. I mean, like sometimes people needed tires. People were in their houses and they couldn't get out for days, sometimes months, right? When you are working in a situation where you see the impact of a mass shooting, where you look at somebody who literally still has a bullet wound and can't walk, can't yet walk. When you're confronted with that kind of pain, you understand the real impact of the lack of safety in this country.
Right.
Because we're not talking about guns and this or that or the second. We're talking about safety.
Yeah.
We're talking about people dying and horrific deaths and living with scars that are seen and unseen forever, and a community shattered forever, right? And then we have to rebuild it. So it was such an incredible opportunity to be part of the healing process, right? Which is ongoing, because healing is not linear, right? It continues to be. And it showed to me even more so when the governor in the middle of the night came and erased the rainbow crosswalk, which it was more than just a crosswalk. He was there for the safety of the people who goes to that site, which I see it as a sacred place of so much pain has been endured there, but also so much sight of compassion and unity has also come together there, right? And then because of a political agenda, it was erased in the middle of the night, right?
After DeSantis pledged to do everything possible when Pulse, was taking place, when Pulse took place and he came down for like a vigil and met with Rep. Escamani and now Senator Carlos Guillermo Smith, he made a public display of wanting to be supportive to the LGBTQ plus community, and is wavering so hard now that it's really embarrassing for him, because whatever his political aspirations, I just can't see how this is viable for any future of any political party. To be so hateful and so petty, using our tax dollars when people are struggling so hard, millions of dollars to repaint crosswalks that aren't hurting anyone just because of the look and the threat of censorship.
Well, they were actually creating more safety, right? According to the Department of Transportation in Florida. So actually, he made it so it becomes less safe for everyone. But at the end of the day, this is about the 49. This is about something bigger than us. I remember Equality Florida started a hashtag that I still use, honor them with action. When 49 people die, the minimum we can do is to not forget and to fight for change. So, that's it. That's what's ahead, right? Now, obviously, there are forces, right, trying to erase history, trying to pretend this did not happen. But we did not forget. And that's the reason why rainbows came up everywhere. And will continue to come up. And we'll continue to tell our own stories, right, for our people, future generations. But yes, it was a huge waste of money. But it was also a slap in the face of the families who every holiday season don't have a child in their table, that every birthday is a painful day. It's a slap in their face.
It is.
That is what cannot be forgotten about this moment. This is more than just a political thing. No, a line was crossed, and we cannot allow it to happen.
So, you have all of these different fights that you're coming back to Florida, which I find so interesting, because I love talking to activists that leave the state to come back to fight, because I always tell people that, if you have the privilege to not be trans and having your healthcare ripped away, or, the ability to organize, which with an affordability crisis is really hard to have the time to do. But if you have the privilege to be able to organize and fight, Florida is the place to do it. I mean, we were Project 2025 before Project 2025 went viral. And if we're going to pull out a weed, we have to do it at the root, right? And if we're going to do that, we need to build here. And so you came back from New York to build during a time of tragedy. And now I feel like you're on the front lines of so many different fights, How did Hope Community Center enter your life? And what are the stories that you're seeing right now in the community?
Yeah. The first time I came to Hope was actually in 2010 during the Trail of Dreams. I was walking and I stopped in a pop car. I slept at Hope for 2 nights. So even though I lived in South Florida, Hope had already, Hope has been around for 50 years, right? So people knew about Hope as a safe haven. And so when we went, we stayed there for 2 nights. We talked to the young people who were there. And then later on, as we were building the network of immigrant youth across the state, Hope was actually the hub here in Central Florida. Which is basically what Hope always is. Hope is a hub for love, for care, for belonging, and also for people who want to create a better world. So that's how I was introduced to Hope, and I was connected to Hope. When I came back to Orlando, I was working at the mayor's office, and I stayed connected to Hope. But 5 years into this, right, I'm working at the mayor's office at this point for that much time. I was the LGBTQ liaison. I felt a higher calling because of DeSantis, because DeSantis was out of control. And I mean, that has not changed. But I remember thinking, oh my goodness, here is this guy coming and attacking immigrants specifically so incredibly in the most disastrous possible ways. And I wanted to do more, right? Go back to my roots, essentially, because that's what I've always done. And right about that time was when the executive director position was opened. I was 8 different people from so many different places in my life told me to apply. I had this moment of like, oh my gosh, should I do it? Should I not? I'm sure many people have felt that way, right? Also, because Sister Ann Kendrick is such an incredible human being. And I thought, oh my God, how could I fill those shoes? Mm-hmm. And I talked to my not godmother, my mother-in-law, because she was living briefly at my house, and I asked for advice, and she said, you know what, let's go to church, let's pray about it, let's see, and let's ask God for a sign. So I went to church, and it was specifically the day that, the reading of the Bible was when Jeremiah, one of the prophets, got his calling, and Jeremiah was like, I don't want to do it because I don't think I can, which is exactly how I was feeling. And the response from God was, no, do it, because I chose you before you were even born. I will put the words in your mouth. I'll guide your feet. You're going, etc. Right? You're going to get guidance, right? So I immediately thought, oh my God, yes, this is God talking to me. Then the priest goes up, and then he says, we must fight against injustices. We must fight against the injustices happening to immigrants. So I was like, okay, God, you said it once, you said it twice. Understood. So I went home and wrote the cover letter of cover letters, which, you're supposed to write a one page and a half cover letter, right? That's supposed to be a humble brag. Like, hey, I can do this job, right? That was not what I did. I wrote a 5-page thing about all the things that I was thinking and feeling, and I submitted it without even asking anyone to read what I wrote. And the president of the board at the time said, okay, after I read your letter, I put all of the other resumes to the side. Oh. So I went in, I had my interview, and Sister Ann was there. And she gave me a hug, because Sister Ann gives the best hugs. And she said, wow, it's full circle. And that's exactly how I was feeling, thinking of myself arriving on foot and sleeping on the floor of the community room. And then now potentially becoming the executive director. And that's how I became the ED there. That's how I got back to Hope.
And I feel like Hope, just like Farm Workers Association, it's filling a gap that I think our government is failing to fill. And I feel like society is closing in more and more on those safe spaces for people to be able to be themselves, in more ways than one. Like our LGBTQ community, we see a lot of affordability issues with friendly bars closing, less and less spaces for people to feel safe and feel like they can just be themselves. And yet these are these bedrock locations that, offer services that right now our government is failing to provide for essential people in our local economy. I don't like talking about an entire population in the sense of labor. I think the reason why people do that when it comes to the immigration fight is because money talks. And I don't think people always understand how important our migrant community is for our base economy, and how much it will, the entire domino effect of what would fall if we lost that. But from the human being standpoint, from the fact that if you really read the Bible and care about other people, we're supposed to have these spaces that even some churches don't provide the services that a place like Hope Community Center provides. And so I think it's an essential place for your career to really bloom in that time in your life. But it sounds like you already found your dream job, but something is still missing because you are running for office.
Yeah.
So how did you get from, I wrote a 5-page cover letter in love with this opportunity, to I have to jump in face first into this political world?
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. First, I am staying at Hope, that's my plan, because Hope needs me.
It's not like it's not enough work, though.
Yes, no, there's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I always joke and say that Hope is kicking ass and kicking my ass. So, but yes, no, I mean, like, just really quickly respond to what you just said. Beyond the services, I also think community and belonging, right? That's what spaces like the Hope Community Center, the LGBTQ plus Center of Orlando, I mean, you name it, right? There's so many, and even bars, you're absolutely right. Because at the end of the day, human beings need community. And we forget this. Look, we are a communal species.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, if we were alone in a forest, we would die. Mm-hmm. We only survive because we do it together.
Yeah.
And we think together, we innovate together. As a matter of fact, innovation only happens when we are in spaces with each other. So when you're able to create spaces like an after school program, a place where people are coming to have dinner together, whatever it may be, beautiful things come up, things that we cannot even fully comprehend because we can't necessarily put a price tag or even a time frame on human creativity, right? So absolutely, those spaces, Hope included, are critical. And they are disappearing, and they are under attack, because when we are isolated, we can be lied to. Mm-hmm. When we are together, we are also stronger. Mm-hmm. For all those reasons, in terms of my why for running for office, right? So last November, we all know what happened, and I just remember driving home from work. It was like a Wednesday night. And I thought to myself, what are we going to do? And I think that's exactly what a lot of people were thinking in various ways, right?
Well, I know I was bothering you, asking you to run before that. I know everybody was. I feel like your name was thrown around so much as like a contender for some type of office.
Yeah, no, it is true.
So the seed was planted.
Yes, lots of people have been talked to me about it, but I was closed off to the idea, right? Until that election. And then the election happened. And then, it was a very similar feeling that I felt like when I was outside the detention center, looking at the expansion of the detention center and thinking to myself, oh my God, we got to do something big. We got to get out of our comfort zone. We got to do things. We got to be willing to make sacrifices. Mm-hmm. So out of the blue, and I really mean it, out of the blue, I got a text message from the representative, Honest Money. Which and also from Sam Vilches, the two of them, 10 minutes apart from each other, which tells me that they were talking to each other about me.
Okay.
And Anna sent a text saying, would you be willing to run for to be a representative for District 42? And then I thought to myself, I think that she's talking about her seat, right? Like, because this text comes out of the blue, okay? No pre-conversation, nothing, just like that. And then 10 minutes later, someone sent a similar text message, right? And I thought, oh my God, is this the thing that I have to do? Is this the sacrifice I have to make, right? Mm-hmm. Do I need to push myself outside my comfort zone here? So I told them, okay, let's have breakfast a week later, like another weekend. So I will have some time to think about it, process the request, right? Talk to Louise, talk to other people, and kind of like figure out, is this what I want to do? Is this the right move? Am I the right person? Because that was the other piece, right? For me, I see these moments like when you get an assignment and an assignment on behalf of the movement. When I got that call from Mayor Buddy Dyer's office about coming back to Orlando to serve, I took a $50,000 pay cut to move back, and I did it because I saw that as an assignment, right? As something that was bigger than myself. I had something unique to give in a moment of crisis, and I had to do it. And I was intrigued to know if that was the situation here too. So, by the time I came to meet with the two of them, I obviously had already talked to Luis, and Luis said, go for it if you feel like this is the right thing. And we had breakfast in this very unassuming bakery in Goldenrod. And then Anna laid it out to me. She said, look, Felipe, there are 3 reasons why I want you to do this. One is because I know you're not going to be bought out by big corporations. I know that. I know who you are. 2, I know that you will always be first and foremost accountable to people. And then 3, you want to serve, right? And you're an expert. You actually have you've worked in policy, you've worked in government, you know how to do the job, right? And because I asked her, right, why me? And I remember when I said that to her, her response was, you asking me this tells me even more that you should be the one because you
egoless.
Yeah, exactly. So I said yes, and I think that when somebody you love and respect tells you, hey, I think you can do this, they are telling you that they see something in you that you yet don't see in yourself. And I went for it, right? And funny enough, we left that breakfast with the FelipeForFlorida.com website already bought by Anna. Because she was like, we're going to do this. And then while we're sitting there, she bought the URL. Yeah, the domain, FelipeForFlorida.com.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Well, after November 2024, I also went through kind of like a rebirth in my mindset because I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air. And I think I actually asked my boss if I could still work and run for office. And unfortunately, she said no. But I know that I have this feeling of like, I'm going to throw my full self into 2026, like a bat out of hell. Like, I don't care. I told my husband, we're going to make some serious sacrifices with our time next year. So let's get all of our vacationing out this year because we're going to go full throttle. But the other thing is, like, I don't think I even knew what was coming because just in the first 100 days, it was chaos with Trump. And DeSantis is in lockstep with his agenda. And they're actually kind of competing on who can be more cruel. And seeing what I'm seeing, and I'd love to hear what you've also seen on the front lines. Like, my husband's also, he's now a citizen, but he migrated here from Colombia. And he wakes up in cold sweats, like crying sometimes because he thinks people are going to come in the door and get him and take him. That feeling never goes away when you've had to work hard to get your citizenship. It's like you're always feeling like at any day I could lose my ability to like have my comfort here. Yeah. And that fear, I mean, I'm Native American. I feel that as someone who's outspoken, a woman who, is educated, like I can feel the walls closing around me, like, and I'm a citizen. So I can only imagine with the horrific scenes that we're seeing. I try to force myself to be super empathetic in the shoes because I don't know a lot of people who are directly feeling this, like outside of going to your town halls and meeting the people at Hope Community Center directly. But I mean, people are waking up one day, going to school, and then coming home and their parents are gone.
That's right.
Like, how do you even comprehend that? How do you function? How do you go to work? I cannot even begin to understand how to help right now, other than trying to get politically active.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how does it feel? I guess the best way I could describe it is, have you ever had a nightmare that there's a monster but you can't move, and you try to scream but you can't scream? That's what it feels like to be undocumented. There is something out there, you don't know where, who may come at any moment to take you. Take you to an internment camp, take you to a place, to maybe a country that you don't even came from, to a situation that it's unfathomable, right? And you don't even have time to get your affairs fixed. If you have kids, where are your kids gonna be? If you have a job, how do you tell your boss? And that is being expanded to U.S. citizens. So there has been several cases already where American citizens were detained, and sometimes for days. And what your husband is feeling, unfortunately, is so real. I only drive now with my passport with me, because I know that I have an accent, I look a certain way, right? And I could be taken, and God knows what's gonna happen, right? People are literally disappeared. That's what's going on. So when you're a kid, and just to give you the example of coming home without your parents, right? When you're a kid, kids thrive when they have stability, knowing that your dad or your parent, your mom or your parents or your family members, right? The people who take care of you are gonna be home is essential for them to have just a normal childhood, a healthy one. So the fact that when so many kids now see the police, see a police car, they immediately hide. That's unnatural. That's not
in
normal.
our schools.
Yes.
They're telling teachers that they can't call the kids' parents if ICE comes into the schools or police start to question kids. So like teachers have full on confessed, like in private, like we're teaching our kids to not speak to anyone in uniform, which is driving a greater wedge between our trust with the police, which there's been like national movements to try and rebuild trust with like the general public and police. But like right now, for kids to be told do not speak if you're pulled into the office in your own school, imagine trying to study and looking at the door constantly. No, I mean, one of the stories, one of the many heartbreaking stories that I heard from at Hope was of this young girl. She was in ninth grade. She's in ninth grade. And she was taking a math exam. And then she got the text message saying that her father had been detained. And then she started crying so loud that they had to stop the test for everybody because she was in such distress. So first of all, obviously she was impacted directly and horrendously, but also was all the kids all around her, right? Who some may be also impacted, right? That may have family members, but others that may not even have, right? That are exposed to this environment of terror. So there is a human cost to all of this, one that I am not sure how to recover from, because the pain is so deep and so hard. I mean, I was having a conversation with a resident from Winter Park, because I've been knocking at doors, talking to people, and this is a middle class family, okay, so not a low income family, a mom, a dad, two kids.
The dad owns a business that's flourishing. And then he told me, but it's a small business, you know what I mean? Like they work hard. And he was talking to me that now, unless the shutdown doesn't end in a way in which people who depend on the ACA is benefited, his premium is gonna go up $1,400 for him to have health insurance for himself, his 2 kids, and his wife. Which he said that what that meant to him and to his family was that they were going to take their kids out of all of their after school programs, and then they will not be able to continue saving money for their retirement. And I asked him, would you be willing to tell your story? And he told me, no, because I have a green card. And I'm afraid that if I say something that it's against this government's agenda, they are going to take away my green card.
For sure.
This is a guy that had been here since he was 2 years old, has a green card from Great Britain. So, you know, even a person like him, who is the so-called model citizen, right? The small business owner, the person with the
married with kids.
Yes, yes. Built a life, all his life in the United States since he was 2 years old, is afraid to speak up because he thinks that maybe his green card can be taken away.
Oh, but they're only deporting criminals.
Yeah, yeah.
So they say.
Yeah.
Well, I find that so interesting, especially since, let's just be real, you are very outspoken, you're very visible. People in the state legislature would love to get Anna Eskamani out, are looking at you and saying, oh, great. We have another big mouth coming to challenge us on every bill, on every line, on every word. They could threaten to denaturalize you.
Absolutely.
They could threaten to censor you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a real threat, you know, actually, for anyone who understands sort of like the moves that President Trump is doing right now, is to create grounds to denaturalize people.
Right.
So that's really what they're going towards, right? So if an immigrant or a person born in another country speaks up against the agenda, then they could be deemed as working against the interest of the United States, and therefore be taken their citizenship away. It's absolutely a real threat and a real possibility. And at the same time, what I know for a fact is that if we don't fight back, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I got to do what I can, right? While I can, for as long as I can.
I mean, they might even come after Hope and try to remove the nonprofit status. I mean, it's the way I look at it, you know, unfortunately, because my job won't let me run, but these types of risks are so worth it right now because we're living our ancestors' dream and how much we're able to afford in freedom. But at the same time, we have to fight for it as hard as our ancestors did to get as far as we can now.
Absolutely. I mean, what the truth of the matter is that the way I see it is this is an existential fight. Like I said before, these culture wars are really about people, actual humans that are demonized one way or the other. And then who you are becomes a piece of political agenda that the right uses against all of us, right? But they are the ones who did that, not us.
Right.
When I knock at doors, what people talk to me about is access to healthcare, affordability. They talk to me about how everything's so expensive, housing, infrastructure. You know, how many people I knock that talks to me about their streets getting flooded, now hurricanes that, you know, entire neighborhoods that never been flooded before, all of a sudden are being flooded with just a tropical rain or common summer rain, right? Because of unplanned development, the destruction of every preserve, right? Mm-hmm. All of these things are happening all around us. That's the real problem.
Right.
not immigrants.
Right.
So we got to redirect our attention.
I mean, I canvass in this neighborhood, and I've had people, comfortable, wealthy seniors in College Park say, I've had to redo my floors 3 times and dip into my retirement savings because I have had some abnormal flooding. I've lived here my whole life. I've never seen this, and we're not speaking to those issues because we're too busy pointing at each other and being like, oh, you're going to let a trans kid come into the school and expose their woke agenda to my kid. Like the things that are not directly impacting getting food on the table and keeping your livelihood just seem to bubble to the top with the intention of continuing to make us feel divided. I've had conversations with Republicans who I'll actually invite on the podcast who are willing to talk because they're kind of aware that, the culture war stuff is a distraction. But when you listen to them, they say things like, I just don't like that I'm struggling and I see migrants being put up in 5-star hotels in New York City. And I'm like, because they were human trafficked from Texas and from Florida with your tax dollars, and he's like, well, I mean, they're going in these hotels and getting, tax subsidized comfort when I'm struggling to feed my kids. And I'm like, but $400 million for Alligator Alcatraz is also money that could help you feed your kids. Like, just think of it in a different way and we're on the same page, So it's just trying to reframe it for people.
Well, I do think that, a lot of it is also misinformation, right? Because immigrants actually, unless you're a U.S. citizen, you're not eligible for any subsidy from the federal government, point blank. If you're not a U.S. citizen, even if you're a green card holder, you are not eligible for most things. So what that means is that when you turn on the TV and people are, Fox News specifically, is saying, oh, immigrants are getting all these benefits, they are destroying our this or that or the other. It's simply not true. Also, immigrants pay taxes. So also, what people don't know is that you can get a tax ID number, which immigrants get, because there is the possibility and the dream of immigration reform. And everybody knows that if you pay your taxes, then you are more likely to be able to adjust status if a law does pass.
You come here, you immediately get signed up to pay taxes.
Yeah.
But it takes you 10 years to get any type of rights and get your citizenship's minimum.
Well, I mean, like you come in and you get your IT number and you start paying taxes. That's the reason why Trump is trying to get the IRS to give their data to ICE, because there are so many undocumented immigrants that pay taxes in the tunes of millions. So we're talking about billions of dollars that undocumented immigrants are paying to the federal government. And by the way, they will never be eligible for unless they get papers. So you're paying into the Social Security pot that you're never going to have access to.
Right.
Because
and
they don't have
keep it that
papers.
way.
Yes, exactly.
They keep it that way, and they want to kick the feet out from under your ability to get there. And now mass deportations are ensuing because they realize that they can't give their rich billionaire friends, the subsidies or the tax write-offs that they want to without doing some massive economic shift. But at what cost? At what cost? At what cost? If I had a kid in school and their best friend was ripped away from the school, that would inflict serious, trauma to my child.
And it's also hurting the school. So we saw that about 2,600 young kids did not go to school the beginning of this year here in OCPS. And that meant that the school is going to see a 5% decrease on its budget. So that's going to impact every kid in the school district, right? There is this misunderstanding that immigrants cost more than they contribute. And that's simply not true. And, backed up by actual research. that immigrants are more, they have a bigger entrepreneurial spirit in the sense of they're more likely to start businesses. They mostly work, and they work hard, and they pay taxes. They pay federal taxes. And in Florida, we don't pay income taxes, but we pay sales taxes. So if you're buying anything, because you live here, you need to buy food, you need to do things. And all that money goes right back into the same economy. It rebuilds the economy, circulates into the economy. And then finally, if you live in a place, you're paying property taxes, whether it's through your rent or through your mortgage. Either way, you're going to pay property taxes. And that immigrants are contributing in all these different facets and then being blamed by things that were not caused by them. And like you said, at the same time, these huge amounts of money, $400 million, $200 million, I mean, the numbers continue to grow. ICE has a budget bigger than the U.S. Marines. I'm going to say this one more time.
Before or after this new bill that they're actually trying to put forward? Because then I believe that bill is going to be
even more.
Yeah,
well, the last one, the big ugly bill that just passed. So when you have that much money being invested in things that, in my opinion, did not help it's not even about the economy alone, right? It's the economy, socially. It's about the labor market. Mm-hmm. We live in Florida. It is not a question if a hurricane will hit us. It's a question of when, right? It's not if, it's when. And when the people who work construction is no longer here, who is going to rebuild our cities?
Who's going to clean all the debris?
Correct. All of this is gone.
Who's going to farm all our food?
Yes.
It's so terrifying to think of. And yet I hope that as Trump is burning everything down, we can rebuild it better because of champions like you who are going to be the voice and going to continue to rise through that misinformation and give real data and be willing to talk to both sides of the political spectrum and have those deep conversations. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask, because you're going, burning at both ends, but you always have this joy. Like, how do you replenish your cup as you're out there fighting every day?
I do have to say and admit that I struggle with that. And, this is why I have a little bit of a hard time with self-care. But I believe in community care, right? We take care of each other. So I, through many of the interventions of my family, I've taken some serious steps. So one, I go to CrossFit 3 times a week.
Nice. Okay.
I love it because it's really intense, just like me. I'm an intense person. I like intense things and also things done in groups, right? So I go 3 times a week. And that's really great because it's something just for me, and it's just for me, for nobody else, right? I also absolutely love just hanging out with my husband. Just being on TV, watching some silly. We love this show, Mr. Ballin. It's these horror stories. We watch it on YouTube.
Mr. Ballin?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's horror stories. Okay, some of them are ghosts. Some of them are whatever. Somebody killed somebody. Right? It's an actual story, but he's a great storyteller. Oh my God, we spend so much time watching those videos together with our dogs, hanging out. I love being with my sister, Claudia. She's like my mom. And I just love hanging out with her, talking to her. She gives me great advice. She's the person who I call whenever I'm happy, whenever I'm sad. I just love being around her and talking to her. My mom is coming to visit this Christmas. So I'm excited.
That'll be so fun.
Yeah, so I'm planning Christmas. It's still in my head. You know what I mean? I haven't done anything about it yet. But these things, family time. And also, I love my dogs. They're like my kids. So I love just laying with them, hugging them, walking with them. Today we went on a 5K and we walked with them the whole 5K. They loved it. I think that might have been more than they thought it was going to be, but that's okay.
You had to pick them up.
Yeah, well, one of them, yes. But yes, no, that was... I just love the simple things of life.
Yeah. Yeah. And being able to stay still for a second and just be like, this is what the fight is all about. You know, being able to have this peace. There's so many people that just wish they could have the peace that we get to have, you know?
Yes.
I think that's what really motivates me the most is exactly that. Just laying on the floor with my dog as they're sleeping and being able to just stay still for a second. There's people all over the world that can't afford that calm and that peace.
Yeah.
That, you know, I think growing up poor for me was one of the best things that ever could have happened to me because it helped me have a reality check very early in my youth to be like, same thing. I'm not always going to open the fridge and see food. So when I do see food now, I do not throw away anything. I eat every bite off my plate, you know, even if I'm full, because I refuse to throw away food. You know, it's just those little things that are ingrained in you to appreciate life and appreciate love, because there's so many people that can't afford it. You know, they don't have the time or they don't have the freedom.
Yeah, no, I mean, just a couple of stories come to mind. One is my sister Financy. So today we were doing the 5K for breast cancer. It was the Advent Health 5K in celebration. And we decided to do it because my sister, Financy, my older sister, is a survivor of breast cancer. And her diagnosis was devastating. I really thought she was going to die. And it was so hard to think of a life without her. Oh my God, even thinking about it is making me want to cry again. So today we were celebrating her victory, you know, her endurance, her courage, her, I don't even know, greatness. I don't even know what to say about her. And we did the walk, you know, and I was reflecting on that. But when you have somebody you love so much, you know, like almost gone, or at least felt that way, it makes you recognize that life is short. And the people you love could be here or may not be here. And you have to, you know, be grateful. And also another story that comes to mind is of one of the people who I had the pleasure of knocking at his door and talking to him. His name is Kevin, and he's in a wheelchair, has 4 kids. So he was talking to me about his struggles and how hard it is for him to move around because so many of the sidewalks don't have ramps, and so many places in Central Florida don't even have sidewalks. But for somebody, you know, like an able-bodied person like myself, it is already dangerous to walk on the road. But when you're on a wheelchair, it's fatal. It could be fatal. And also could mean that you can only be in your house. So these different experiences of people all around me, including my own, reminds me that the fight is worth fighting. And when we win, life gets better. So why not? And I feel motivated by the beauty that exists in that struggle, in the struggle for something better for everyone, whether it is my neighbor or the 180,000 people in District 42 or the millions of people in Florida, or the people I get to work with at work. I know that every person has infinite potential. And we have to figure out a way to unlock it for our collective sake. Because for all we know, the girl who will discover the cure for breast cancer is a little girl in Eatonville right now, today. And if we find a way to give her the educational opportunity, the economic opportunities, then breast cancer is gone. Then no other family has to go through what my family went through, what my sister went through. So it is good for all of us.
Right.
For opportunities, for truly to have an opportunity for us to thrive together. And that's what motivates me. That's what makes me get up in the morning and say, you know what? Let's go. And si se puede and all the way.
Si se puede. Well, that's a beautiful way to land the plane on this conversation, but I definitely want to have you back. I want to have you on with Anna. I want to have you on with, the team from Hope Community Center. Sister Ann would be a great one. But I'm just so excited for your journey. I can't wait to see what comes out of your office when you go up to Tallahassee. And just thank you for honoring the people in your community through sharing some of their stories. I'm really interested in seeing how people respond to it online.
Oh my God. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity.
Before we go, how can people get involved with Hope and how can people get involved with your campaign?
Okay, so if you like to get involved, come to my website, felipeforflorida.com, and that's how you can get involved with my campaign. Or you could check out Hope Community Center on our website, hcc-offm.org.
Okay, and you need donations?
Yes.
You need
absolutely
food donations. You need monetary donations.
Yes. Honestly, we would absolutely welcome any kind of support. On the website, you will have ways to volunteer, to donate, to get involved, to get active. This is a moment that we need everyone. And anything and everything you can do will make a huge difference.
In this video, I'm going to share a link to an Amazon wish list where folks can buy food products that will be shipped directly to Hope.
Yes.
For mutual aid for folks that the main breadwinner of their family has either been detained or deported. And we want to make sure that we're filling the gaps on their needs for sure.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you. Thank you so much for joining us. And please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. And if you want to come on the podcast, send us a DM. Go to @organizingtovictory or visit us at organizingtovictory.com. Get involved with this movement. We want to hear from you and we want to bring people on here that will teach us all one more step to justice. Thank you so much. We'll see you at the next one. Bye.